Hello everyone, welcome to episode number 35 of Daily Flip. I thought we would do something a little different today. I sent out an email this morning letting folks know that we were going to do a live video call today. So this is nothing official, this is nothing fancy. This is just going to be a quick Q&A. I gave people the opportunity to send a few questions ahead. So we had a few that came in here. I've got a few fancy sticky notes here, just a few questions that we had come in. A couple that were on, I think a couple were emailed in. Juan emailed one in, Dan emailed one in, and Damien sent one in on Facebook. So if you guys have any other questions, I'll give a few folks some time to come in and join the video if they have not already, and just check in my YouTube settings here to make sure I can see everything. If you guys have any questions that you would like me to answer live, I'm gonna turn this on where I can see them. They're gonna pop up on my screen here. So if there's a question I can answer for you, I'd be more than glad to. I don't really have a time limit right now other than it's currently a little bit after 5. I gotta be out of here roughly around 5:30. I'm meeting my wife at the gym. One of my goals has been to get back in shape here recently, and I've been struggling a little bit the last few weeks to get to the gym just with my schedule. So we're gonna be, do I have a Facebook group? I'll definitely come to that here in just a second. Actually, I'll go and answer that. Yes, we do have a Facebook group. I'll post a link when this video is finished up. There'll be a link below in the description. You might be able to search it on, and we actually have a link. I think it's thecarflip.com/Facebook maybe. Don't quote me on that. There'll be a link below. I'm probably answering that wrong. There'll be a link below. There's almost 3,000 people in that group. It's completely free. A lot of really cool people in there that have been flipping a while. So there's a lot of new people, a lot of people that are more advanced that you can ask people questions back and forth. So definitely. But if you have another question, just like we just answered there, post that question, and I'm going to make sure that I can view these here. That will pop up for me. It looks like they will. There we go. So as your questions come in, I'll just stop and answer those. I'm pushing buttons I shouldn't be pushing right now on my phone. So I got a few questions here. As other folks maybe are trickling in to watch the video, just give you a quick rundown of my day. If this is the first time you've watched a daily flip, basically this is me giving you a rundown of what happens in my day. A lot of folks I've seen online post about flipping. You don't know, like, do they really know what they're talking about? Do they not? For me, this is something I do every day. It's just kind of showing you the proof in the pudding, showing you how the sausage is made, I guess you could say. That's a weird analogy. But today we've had a few things going on. We've got if you watched Daily Flip yesterday, we had actually I'll show you. I'm gonna adjust my tripod here so I can get through. We had a Chevrolet Traverse we've been doing an engine on, and our goal today was to move it forward, except it has no front tires or wheels. So we got this moved forward today. It's sitting on 2 little dollies. My Wi-Fi can get a little spotty, so we're gonna try to venture out here and show you what's up with this. Basically, the rest of the front end, or all of the front end, is right over here. This is the transmission, CV joints, brakes, rotors. You've got rack and pinion. Everything from the front end of this vehicle is over here, except for the engine, which actually is right over there. So we have to put a new engine in it, which is gonna come in next week. So this, and my camera, I'm gonna throw this sideways, so try not to get dizzy. We're sitting currently on these little dolly type things right there. So there's 2 on either side. We had to roll this forward over a bump, and I'm seeing your question, Justin. How do the higher end cars do for me? I'll get to that here in just a second. Actually, I have a higher end car I'm dealing with right now. I'm gonna come back inside so we don't lose our Wi-Fi. So that has been a project. It took 3 of us today to push it over a hump to get it to the back end of the shop. So that's been an adventure. Otherwise, I have I'll show out the side here. I've got a 2006 Mercury Mountaineer that I am 90% sure is sold tomorrow. This one right here, it's 2006. Pretty sure it's sold. Guy's gonna be trading in hopefully a 2004 GMC Envoy that I sold him maybe a year ago. He needs a 3rd row now. Really cool story actually. He got in some trouble a while back, and he is actually recovered. He is in a recovery program right now, and he's trying to bring other people to this recovery program. So he's getting a 3rd row vehicle so he can actually bring more people with him. So really cool guy. Hopefully he's buying that tomorrow. Justin, on the luxury cars, for me, I don't do a lot of higher price luxury cars. So right now I actually have a 2005 Porsche Cayenne that my wife is driving, and eventually that's going to come back to the dealership. We're going to sell it. Usually every, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months we trade her out to something else. So we'll see what she gets next. But this has been one that, you know, I bought thinking it would be fairly easy to sell. As I was comparing comps for this Porsche Cayenne, a lot of the vehicles similar are selling for 11 to 12,000, or at least people are asking that. I'll be able to sell this for under 10 and make a good profit, make my $2,000 profit. So she'll get to drive it for 6 months. I get to sell it and make $2,000, and we'll put that into our next vehicle. But for me, if I'm doing a luxury vehicle, it's going to be one that's going to sell for under probably 6,000, because when folks get into that $10, $12, $20,000 luxury car, they generally are looking to buy that from a CarMax or from a bigger dealership. You've really got to have a very competitive price, at least for me in the luxury cars that I've done. People want to be in a luxury environment, and I don't know if I'm, you know, you don't have to be, you know, some fancy car dealership. But I'm a smaller lot. I only have 10, 15 cars for sale at a time. Normally when they're coming to look at a $20,000 car, they're expecting to be, you know, maybe at a Ford dealership where this BMW was a new trade-in, or at a CarMax, or at a, you fill in the blank. So normally if I'm doing a luxury car, I'm going to be in one that's in the 6,000 or less. For example, I sold a BMW 535, it was a 5 something. And I'm reading Kayla Turner, 16. You're turning 16? Am I reading that right, Kayla? You're turning 16 years old today? I don't know if I'm reading that right. But back to Justin's question. Normally I'm selling a lower price. So this, and it's horrible, I think it was a 535. That sounds wrong, 525. I get the BMWs mixed up. But I sold it for $3,000. So as someone is looking for, you know, the Mercury Montegos and the Ford Explorers, and they're just trying to keep something under $4,000, I had a 2003 BMW that was nice. It was black, it was leather, it was a trade-in, so I was able to sell it for $3,000 cash. Today, let's see, Kayla, well, not today, tomorrow is in, oh, okay, so you must be 2 hours. Where are you located? See, I'm Eastern Standard Time, so I guess I'm probably behind you in time, but anyway, happy early birthday. Maybe we're the first ones to wish you happy birthday there. UK, makes sense. So you're a little bit ahead of us there in time. Well, happy early birthday. Hope it's a good one for you there. But for me, I'm lower priced in the luxury cars, I guess you'd say. Most of my cars I do are in that under 6,000. That's not always the case. I sold one for 13 the other day. Okay, I'll take the fourth. Okay, you know, that's not too bad, right? I mean, coming all the way from the US, maybe it's the first happy birthday from the US. Maybe we'll get that. Anyway, so luxury stuff, if I'm doing it, it's gonna be under that 6K price range. Usually, like I said, I just sold one for 13K the other day, a 2016 Ford Fusion. I've got vehicles that are around 10,000, but my bread and butter is that between $4,000, $6,000 cash point. Third in the US, oh man, well maybe next time. I'll try to remember for next year. Got another question. Have you been to dealer auctions? If so, how are they like? There's a couple videos in our YouTube channel that you'll see me actually bidding on cars at auctions. So if you go through, it was a couple live videos I did, you can actually see me bidding on, I think it was a 2006 Mercury Montego. You can go and check that out. You actually see the auctioneer, you see the car bidding. I think I paid $1,400 for it. If I'm going to an auction, I'd much rather be at a dealer-only auction than a private auction. That's just because of the prices that you're going to see when you go to a dealer or a private auction, or not a private, a auction that's open to the public. Prices are usually a little more, and you usually can't drive them ahead of time. I say usually. A lot of the ones I've been to, you haven't been able to drive them ahead of time. But Bryce, is it best to be patient when you have $1,200 to $1,600, or just try something for $800? Patience is always the right way to go. The worst decisions I've ever made is when I've been in a hurry. Seems like as soon as you buy something, all the good deals seem to pop up. So if you're in that price point, if you only have $800, you definitely can buy something. I'm thinking back to when I was a little more limited on cash. Once I bought this has been, I don't know, several years ago, when I was flipping out of my driveway. I bought a I want to think it was 2003 Chevy Trailblazer with the third row. I actually bought it for $800, but it needed a transmission. So there's a couple different ways you can go about that. You can find a running and driving car for $800. It's just going to take a lot more work to find a nice car. For example, I found, this has been probably 4 or 5 years ago, Again, this is when I was doing it without this dealership setup. I bought a 2000, it was a 1, 2, 3, Ford Taurus for like 400 bucks. All it needed was an AC compressor, but the clutch on it was making some clicking noise. So as the car was running, you heard a clink, 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 and it sounded worse than it was. I looked down, saw the clutch was shaking all over the place. I was able to get the guy, he was asking $500. I got him down to $400. Actually, the reason I got him to $400 was because he'd been to CarMax. If I ever test drive someone's car, if they're not with me, one of the first things I do when I'm out of sight is I open the glove box to see what's in there. There was a CarMax offer sheet where they had offered him $400, so I knew that he kind of maybe was expecting 400 bucks. So I got it for 400 because I made the offer, and I put a AC compressor, which was $35 from a junkyard. I was able to do it in my driveway. Wasn't very difficult, so I had less than $100 in repairs, and then I sold it. I want to think it was like for around $2,000, but that allows you to then take $2,000 and put that into your next flip, or buy two $1,000 cars, and then you can really get your money growing. But I'm seeing your follow-up question, Bryce, and trying not to get my thumb in the frame here. Do you do cars that needs an engine or transmission replaced and still sell it well? If so, let's see, and I'm reading, you're probably typing really fast, so I'm making sure I'm making this coherent. And if so, do you tell them it's been replaced? Usually not. Actually, most of the time I don't. Even if, let's say for example, actually right now I have a 2008 Jeep Wrangler. It's pretty, good shape. It's yellow, it's two-door, soft top. I bought it knowing the engine was bad. This car only has 80-something thousand miles. And for me, I'm actually putting a rebuilt engine in it. So if I was to go to a junkyard, these engines are very expensive. The cheapest one I could find was around $2,200 used. That was with 100K, 125,000 miles. I was able to buy a reman actually from Advanced Auto Parts of all places. They were running a special, so I got 10% off. It was $2,050 before the discount, so that took it to right around $1,800. So for 1,800 bucks, I have a rebuilt engine. But I probably am not going to make a big deal about that, because when you tell someone, hey, I just replaced the engine, for me, that makes perfect sense. That's a good thing. This vehicle's going to have a reman engine. But if I was to replace this engine with a engine that has half the miles, so this car has 80, it has 40. When you go to explain that to somebody, people start to get leery. They're thinking, wow, this thing had an engine replaced. That's a big repair. It's probably going to have problems on the road. Normally, I don't get into that. So for example, I am putting an engine in this Traverse right now. This is a warranty job, so they're gonna know the engine is replaced because it's covered under the warranty that we're doing. If this was a vehicle, if this Traverse was a vehicle I bought and there was, just an engine that was bad, I had to replace it, I'm probably not going to bring that up in the conversation with the customer, even if it has less mileage, because it's just a point where someone can get a little fuzzy and thinking, I don't know if I want a vehicle that's had that kind of work done to it. So you can use your discretion there. There's definitely nothing that requires you to disclose that. If I'm buying an engine, I'm always going to buy an engine that has less miles than what's going in it. So I'm not going to have a vehicle that has 110,000 miles and put an engine that has 200,000 miles in it. I don't feel like that would be ethical to not disclose. But as long as I'm putting an engine that has less mileage, I feel good about that. And it's just not something I like to bring up. Can you make a living flipping without a dealer's license? Yes, I did it. For several years, that was my only income. I was at my house, me, the driveway, and whatever cars I could find on Craigslist. That was actually before Facebook Marketplace existed. Let Go and OfferUp were kind of in the beginning stages, but it was mainly Craigslist. It was me and Craigslist scanning. Because that's all I did, I was able to find the deals before anyone else, and I could, arrange times to go look at the cars before other people could. So for me, it was nothing but Craigslist. I was buying off Craigslist, and then I was reselling on Craigslist. You can definitely make an income. Now, a lot of folks with flipping aren't looking to replace their entire income. And I keep looking behind me to make sure no one's coming in. We get a shadow from cars on the street. I think someone's walking in my lot. A lot of folks are looking to supplement, or either to take flipping and then take it full time. So a lot of folks flip for a while to get their feet wet so that they could figure out if they want to get their dealer's license or not. So it can be either or. You can flip full time, but it's going to be something you're going to be invested in scanning constantly, depending on what your goals are from an income standpoint. So for me, I was making 5 figures, which sounds impressive, but that was $10,000 to $12,000 a month flipping on the side. So it's not like I was making 50 or 75,000 a month, but 10, 12, sometimes I'd be making 6,000 to 8,000, but it was pretty common that I made $10,000 to $12,000 a month just flipping from my driveway. It's definitely doable, For me, that was 5 or 6 cars because I didn't have any overhead. So that $2,000 profit on each car added up really fast because I didn't have, like I do here, I pay $2,500 a month just for this building. That's before any other expenses. So it's a lot easier to keep my overhead low, which kept my profits really high. I'm seeing a follow-up question, Bryce. What is the best platforms to buy cars on today? Facebook Marketplace for me is the best for getting a quick response because everyone's on Facebook. Now there's still great deals to be found on Craigslist, and as I'm saying that, I'm thinking buying and selling. So there's still a great opportunity on Craigslist. There's just more people on Facebook right now, and so people are starting to understand the marketplace. We're kind of at a point where it's not a place that people aren't aware of. You know, a year ago it was around, but people really didn't know how to use it. But now it's pretty mainstream. Facebook Marketplace is my go-to when I am scanning for the first, and then I go to Craigslist. But it's #1 over and above anything when I'm selling because so many people are on Facebook. You can not only sell in the marketplace, you can also sell in the Facebook groups, so local buy-sell groups. It's hard to beat from a sales standpoint because there's just so many people up there, but I hope that helps, Bryce. Otherwise, if you guys have any other questions, post them. I'll see them pop up on my screen and I'll stop for a second and answer those. I've got a couple other questions that I'm gonna be getting to, people that sent their emails in. I see yours, Justin. What are your top 3 cars that you would like to own someday? You know, that's a good question. I get asked that a lot, like what's my dream car? I've been flipping so long. When I first started out, there was a few. I mean, it was very basic. Like I'd always wanted to have a convertible Mustang GT, you know, this and that. So cars meant a lot more to me then than they do now. I've been doing it so long, there's not like I gotta have this one car. You'll actually see a lot of people, actually if you're on Facebook for the next 3 days and you scan your Facebook, actually have someone on Let Go, just checking on a car. We'll check them in a minute. You'll see a lot of people in the Lamborghinis and the Ferraris and the Aston Martins, and they're trying to sell you something. They're saying, I'm so successful, check out my Lamborghini that I just bought with the money that I was flipping houses, flipping cars. And it's funny that a lot of people that you see in those videos are renting those cars. They have them for a week to do other videos and they show them to you later. For me, there's never been a car that I really wanted or have to have. If there was gonna be one car, I could give you one. I'm gonna actually throw in 2 here. You asked for 3, but I have 2 that I can think off the top of my head. A 1968 Mustang Fastback was a car that I've always wanted. Actually to the point where my dad bought one and it was kind of the idea it was gonna be mine. It didn't work out where I actually got to have it, which made it even worse. So it was red, he redid the interior. We ended up selling it, but it was one of those where I was like so close, to it being mine. So, the Mustang Fastbacks have always been something I've liked. You had the 65 through the 70 were really the sweet spots on those. The 70 Mach 1, we actually almost bought a 1970 Mustang Mach 1. It's the Fastback. It had the 428 Cobra jet engine. Pretty sweet ride. So that'd be up there. Other than that, I'm a big fan of the movie Back to the Future, so I've always thought it'd be really cool to have a DeLorean. So I guess these cars are more sentimental than they are value-wise. Of course, who wouldn't want a Lamborghini or Ferrari, fill in the blank. But those 2 are 2 that come to mind just because I've always enjoyed them. Just enjoy seeing them. But those would be 2 that I would like to have. If you guys have any questions, post below. Otherwise, I'm gonna get to a question from Juan. We've got these on fancy sticky notes and got 3 of these. So I'll go over these real quick. He says, do you think car flipping is possible for a teenager? So I'm not sure where Juan is. He didn't put his location, but yes, it definitely is. Now that depends on how old you're, teenager could be 13, teenager could be 17. It's very helpful to have a driver's license, Juan. I'm assuming if you're asking this question, you probably do. I've been flipping since I was, and I forget if it was 15 or 16. It was one of those, I really need to go back and figure that out, but it was 15 or 16. I've been flipping from then to now, so for the last 15 years I've been flipping cars. So it's definitely possible. Now it is a little more challenging when someone comes to look at your car and you're 15 and you just got your driver's license. You just look young, and that's kind of something that's difficult. For me, when I was 15, I was flipping cars. I was also flipping seats. I was flipping interior stuff out of junkyards on eBay, and I was doing it legally. I wasn't going and stealing parts out of a junkyard. I had an arrangement set up with a junkyard. He wasn't the owner, but he was like the manager. He was the guy, when you called in, you spoke to him. He was like the second in command. So I had to deal with him where whatever I sold out of the junkyard from interiors, I got to get a 50% cut of whatever it sold for. So I had absolutely nothing invested, but I got 50%. And it was a lot easier for me to sell the stuff on eBay because my listings look the exact same as any other listing. So no one knew they were buying a rear seat for a Chevy Tahoe from a 16-year-old. As opposed to when someone came to look at my first car that I ever flipped, actually on the podcast, I think it's episode 1 or 2, I forget which one. We just started the Car Flip Show podcast. I go into my first ever flip that I made money on. It was a 1973 Volkswagen Beetle that caught on fire, and I still made $1,000. So that's a fun story. You can check that out in episode 1 or 2 of the podcast. If you go to thecarflipshow.com, it's going to take you to that podcast. You got iTunes and Stitcher links there. You can check it on your smartphone. There's also the shows here on YouTube. You can check those out in our channel feed there. I was so like afraid of someone coming to look at this car, and like, mind you, the car had caught on fire, so I was a little, I didn't know what I was doing. So the car caught on fire. It didn't actually mess up anything too bad. It was an electrical issue combined with a fuel leak, bursting the flames. So there's a little bit of paint that had been messed up on the back. The engine was actually intact. But when the person came to look at it, I was so nervous. I was 15 years old. My dad actually went out and talked to the folks for me. They're down there talking. I'm watching from a distance. He comes back with like, he was messing on me, but he had this sad look on his face, like, no, it's not going to work. And he said, well, would you take $2,000 for it? And I only had $1,000 in it. That was, I paid $965, a little cosmetic thing. The 4 pans needed replaced. I hadn't done that. So I had $1,000 in it. I was jumping up and down, like freaking out that I made $1,000 when I thought I was going to lose money because the car caught on fire. But this person was looking for that specific model. They wanted a 73. They weren't concerned by the engine because it would still turn over. Everything was fine, just the cosmetic stuff. So they paid me $2,000. Take it 3 years from that. I'm 18, I'm 20, I'm 22. I had a little bit of confidence when someone came to look at a car. I didn't need someone else to show the car for me. My first couple, I leaned on my dad a little bit because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't feel comfortable in front of people, but as I sold a couple, that vanished. So as a teenager, it's going to take some confidence. You're going to have people that come and look at you like, you're a 15, you're going to have that stigma. You get past that, you're going to be fine. Having a driver's license is definitely be a plus. Otherwise, you could always put it in your parents' name if they're okay with that. If you hit your state's limits, if in North Carolina you can sell 5, it's 5 or 6. So if I was doing it as a teenager, I could sell my 5. I could put 5 more in my mom's name. I could put 5 more in my dad's name. You could, so forth and so on there. So it's definitely possible. A little more challenging just because you're a teenager and someone's coming to give you thousands of dollars, but definitely not something you couldn't overcome. Dan asks, what OBD scanner should I buy? Now, Dan did not give me a price point, so it would depend. If you only have $50 to spend, it's not going to be the one I'm about to recommend to you. I get asked this question a ton. I need to do a YouTube video specifically on this scanner because the one that I use actually is this one right here. Now, I bought this maybe and a half years ago. It still works as good as any that I've used for what I'm using it for. This is an Autel MaxiDiag Elite. You can check that out on Amazon if you just search that. If I have time when I post this video, I'm gonna try to put a link for that so you can just click right to it. But the reason I like this one, it's under $200. So for an under $200 scanner, it does the engine codes, it does transmission codes, it also does airbag and ABS codes, which is very helpful. I had a vehicle not long ago. I had an airbag light on. I was able to check and see that it was for a fault for one of the rear seat belt, and I'm forgetting what you call the part now, but basically I sprayed WD-40 in it, clicked it in and out 4 or 5 times, the airbag light went off. So that was something I didn't have to overcome from an objection standpoint with the customer. Checking light, or the airbag light was gone, and this scanner was the reason I was able to do that. Also, this lets you do live data. So for example, I had a Jaguar X-Type recently. I had to check the transmission fluid on. You can't check it on top. You have to unscrew a nut from the bottom. You have to do it between, I think it's like 110 and 115 degrees. And so you have to know the temperature of the transmission fluid. This allows you to do that. You can actually see the engine temp, coolant temp, the transmission fluid temp, and this allows you to do all that. Very handy. It's like 180, 185 bucks. It might even be cheaper now, but I'll try to put a link later this evening when I actually get home from the gym. Let you see what that's all about. So it's the MaxiDiag Elite. If you're looking for a scanner under 200 bucks, it's a good option. Otherwise, they do have the Bluetooth options. I'm not as big a fan of that because when I want to scan something with this, you plug it in, and boom. I mean, within a couple seconds, you've got the reading here. You click a button, you can see the codes. It's nice, it's fast. You have a lot of data in front of you. I've not done a lot with the Bluetooth ones, so I wouldn't be the best to tell you, but they're pretty cheap. You can get the apps for free, and I think I have a Bluetooth reader. I've just never used it. I think I paid like 15 bucks on Amazon. It was a special deal on Amazon, so I bought it real quick, but you can check those out if you're on a more limited budget. So I'm looking at the clock here, and I got to be at the gym soon. So that's Dan's question. The next question is from Damien. This is on Facebook. I don't even know if Damien knew that we had a live video going on today. He just sent me this question right before I was hopping on the live call, so I wrote it down on the sticky note real quick, and I actually summarized it. So Damien, if this isn't verbatim what you wrote, but it says basically, just getting started and don't have a lot of money, so I'm trying to buy cheap right now. Any advice? And yes, definitely. And it also depends on your experience level. So it depends on how mechanically inclined you are. So if you're able to turn wrenches and do a few things here or there, like I mentioned earlier, when I found the 2000, I think it was a 2001 Ford Taurus, I paid $400 for it, replaced the AC compressor. That's an easy $1,000 flip. I made closer to $1,500 on that one, but that's an easy $1,000. If you can get away with doing a quick, cheap flip first, that then increases your budget, so the next flip won't be as difficult. The cheaper you go, the harder it is to find something nice, and that makes sense. It's a pendulum. You know, the lower the price, the harder it is to find something. So on that note, I would be looking for something, and price range would be the variable here. So if you're looking to buy something for under $2,000, I would have a I would have a Craigslist search set up. Facebook isn't as easy to do a search like this with criteria, at least that I've seen as of yet. On Craigslist, you can search by price. You can also search by owner, so it's going to filter out all the dealer posts. So I would be searching in my area. If I have $2,000 to spend, I'd be looking for vehicles $4,000 and below by owner, and that's going to narrow down to where you're not, you know, scanning through, you know, a $500 broke down pickup truck and a $30,000 Tesla and a $14,000 Mustang, because you kind of get overwhelmed when you're trying to understand the market and actual values of vehicles. So you only want to look at vehicles under $4,000, and you say I've only got $2,000 to spend, and maybe that's only $500, maybe that's only $1,000. You can adjust these numbers, you know, depending on your price point. But if I'm looking for a vehicle for $2,000 or below, I'm going to look at the $4,000 vehicle. I'm going to look at the $3,800 Chevrolet Avalanche that has fill in the blank issue, that I just on a whim issue or offer $2,000 and see what they say. You know, I've bought when I first opened up here, I want to think I bought a 2003 Chevy Avalanche for $2,500 that a back glass had been shattered. The guy locked himself out of his car. The back glass on those are actually removable, but he had no way to get into it. You can't remove it except from the inside. So he bust out the rear glass, you know, was able to get through, get the doors unlocked, and then he drove in. So long story short, for the next 6 months, he drives this vehicle without a back glass. You can imagine how nasty it was on the inside. This was during this time of year, so you had a lot of pollen. It was like green on the inside. If you're from up north and have no idea what that is, it's the worst. It's horrible. So we have green dust everywhere from the trees. But it was nasty on the inside. The carpet was wet. Like it had this disgusting musty smell on the inside. When you touch the carpet, it just oozed water. And so he posts it for $35. I offer $25. He says no. I follow up the next day. He says, come look at it. We'll talk about it. I go to look at it. Everything's great on the vehicle. Has a few scratches that we're able to buff out. I buy it for $2,500. I pull the carpet, let it dry. I dyed the carpet. And then we had to buy a back glass, and it needed one other thing. I forget, and it's been so long, I forget. But I had under $3,000 in this. It was a really easy sell for like $6,500. I mean, you know, turnkey, other than a few small things, you know, it was a pain pulling the carpet out. It was a pain, you know, finding the rear glass. But overall, it's a pretty easy flip. But because I was looking in that price point, when that vehicle popped up, I knew it was a crazy deal, and I went and bought it the next day. So you definitely can do that. Justin, last question for you, it says, when you make a sight unseen first offer on a vehicle, do you bluntly make an offer, or how do you phrase it to keep them from just ignoring it? I have a set, and I'm pushed the wrong button here. I have a set thing that I text basically on every single vehicle. When a vehicle pops up, let's say for example, one of the more recent vehicles I bought from a private seller was a 2005 Jeep Wrangler. Our inventory's been really high, so I haven't bought anything recently. But basically my set text every time is there any way you could take fill in the blank price for the fill in the blank car today? So, is there any way you can take $4,000 cash today for the Jeep Wrangler? So I'm gonna offer that. I'm gonna have that exact phrase. It's actually saved on my phone, so I don't even type it anymore. And I'm trying to keep a question up here so I don't lose it. So I don't even type the question anymore. I just click, I forget what I have. It's like X or 2 X's or something, and it auto populates that, and I just change out the vehicle. So it's pretty simple. I send that every single time. The great thing about texting an offer as opposed to calling, number one, I don't like that confrontation of offering someone $2,000 less than they're asking for their vehicle over the phone. It's just kind of awkward. But when you text it, it sets up an ultimatum. So they can either say yes or they can say no. When you're talking to someone on the phone, you lose that because it's an awkward silence, which I don't mind when I'm negotiating. Using that awkward silence to your advantage can be a plus, but I send a text. Is there any way you can take, $4,000 cash today for the fill in the blank car? And then they will either respond yes or no. They might counter. And then if they say no, my go-to response is, it looks really nice. If you change your mind, let me know. I forget how I phrased the second one, but usually I don't just say, whatever, whatever. I say it's a nice vehicle, thanks anyway. If they change their mind, let me know. And that lets me follow up the next day. If no one's bought it, if I still see it's active, I can then, follow up and see if they still have it. So for me, I text it and I offer cash today or whatever day that is. And I have the amount of my offer right there. So it sets up that ultimatum for them. But I'm seeing your video, see AICS USA, do 2000 to 2002 Lincoln Town Cars, 2000 to 2003 Cadillac DeVille's, C4 Corvettes, and mid-90s Chevy trucks flip good. Any of those, if bought for the right amount, you can flip them. I have sold, not too terribly long ago, a 2001 Lincoln Town Car. I sold a 2003 DeVille not long ago. Not done a Corvette, a C4, if I'm not mistaken, and forgive me if I'm not, C4 is the 90s, right? 96, what would that be, 84 to 96? I think I'm right on that, hopefully. I did a 90 Corvette not too long ago. It's all about price point though. The pickup trucks, the 90s Chevy pickup trucks, 88 through 96, okay, I thought it was something like that. The one that I sold, 84, yeah, because the 84s had a lot of issues electrically, if I remember correctly. Yeah, there's money to be made as long as you buy them right. So the Corvette that I bought, and I'm forgetting the numbers, I sold it for like 55 or 5,500. It was a nice car. It was red with red leather, red carpet. It was in really good shape. So it's a matter of where you buy it. If I'd have bought that for 4,500, I don't want to make 500 bucks. But if you can buy that Corvette for 2,500, there's your profit margin. Pickup trucks always sell as long as they're in good shape because everyone needs a pickup, or a lot of people need pickup trucks. It's not just a Corvette is usually kind of something you want to buy on a whim. The DeVille or the Lincoln Town Car, someone could buy any vehicle. So your town car is also competing with the Impala, which is also competing with an Explorer, which is also competing with a Ford Taurus. A pickup truck is something that someone is looking specifically for. Like they have to have a pickup truck because they're going to be doing work out of it, or fill in the blank reason why they would need a pickup truck. So as long as you can buy those right, yes. Now I'm not the biggest fan of the Cadillac DeVille just because of the engine that's in those, the 4.6 North Star. That being said, if I buy one, I'm going to be 100% sure I don't have a blown head gasket or fill in the blank issues that they're known with. So I've done well on them because when I see them at auctions, a lot of dealers are a little leery of them because everyone's had their North Star engine problem. My wife is texting me, "Are you on the way?" So we're going to have to wrap this up soon. All of those vehicles, money can be made. I would buy any of them at the right price. So a Lincoln Town Car isn't going to sell as fast as a Honda Accord or a fill in the blank vehicle. But if it's bought correctly, if you can have the nicest car priced for $2,700 on Facebook Marketplace, or if you have a really nice place with good road frontage to park that vehicle and you can put $2,950 on the window and it has decent miles, that's where you're going to get your buyers for a vehicle like the DeVille or the Town Car. It's going to be the nicest vehicle in the price point, but you got to buy it right to do that. The pickup trucks, everyone needs a pickup truck, so there's money to be made on those for sure. I am a little biased towards one with an extended cab because those are easier to sell. 4x4 on a truck is a huge plus, at least where I'm at. If you're up north, for sure, be careful of rust if you're up north. Of course, the older cars are a little dicey up north. And the Corvettes, there's a market for those, but they won't sell as fast as the pickup truck, or even sometimes as fast as the DeVille or the Town Car, because it's not a vehicle that someone has to have. If someone is looking for, see, the extended cab is definitely a plus. But if someone is looking for a town car or someone's looking at your town car or your DeVille, they might not really want a town car or DeVille, but they might only have $2,500 to spend. Short bed, like you said, for sure. I don't do a lot of long bed. It's been a while since I've done a long bed because you just get stuck with those. But a Corvette is going to be something that usually takes a little longer to sell just because there's not as many people actually looking for those. But I think I have answered all the questions except, no, that's all of them actually. So Damien, hopefully you see this. I'll post a link and maybe send this to you on Facebook so you can see it. If you have a follow-up question, let me know. No problem on the question about the other cars. So if you guys have any other questions, I'm gonna hop off because I have to hop in the car, head to the gym. I'm supposed to be running today. I think I'm supposed to be running 3 miles. I am supposed to be training for a half marathon sometime this summer. So pray for me there because I have not been training as I should be. So it's a chest and back day at the gym. Tomorrow morning, I'll be back at the gym at 5:30 for our basketball. We play from 5:30 to around 7:30. So I got all that coming up, and hopefully I'm back in shape here in the next little while. So thanks all you for watching. If any of you have any follow-up questions, post them in the comments below. I will probably come back, no problem. And AICS USA, I hate to say that, it seems so generic, but no problem. Anyway, so I'm headed to the gym. I might, in between sets, respond to some questions if you want to post below. Otherwise, you guys have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow if you're going to be on YouTube. It won't be a live video probably, but you'll see Daily Flip episode 36 post up. Check out the podcast if you haven't. Love to have some of your feedback there. And otherwise, you guys have a great night. I'm headed to the gym. You'll love the awkward exit when I can't find the exit button. Okay, now I'm out. See you guys.